And this is sort of a questionnaire that, that everybody fills out. Everybody who's in the Slack group has filled this out. Everybody on our mailing list has filled this out. And when you click submit, basically two things happen. One, that information goes into our database, where we can find like, okay, who's taken the time to submit this form and has legal skills, right? And so we're able to find people that way. The other thing that happens is it sends an invite to Slack.
Okay, so how do you set up this? What's this?
Right. So this is another tool that we use called Typeform.
What's it called?
Typeform.
Typeform.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me actually. As I mention tools, I'm going to just put them up in a list. So.
And that's also free.
That is there is a free tier, I think.
There's a free version. You pay $10 a month for it.
Yeah, we actually pay for Typeform because we use it a lot for.
But you can also use Google Forms for this.
Yes, but one of the reasons we use Typeform is just that it has a really nice interface. It looks cool. It looks really clean and works well on desktops and on phones. A lot of times at new member orientations and org meetings and stuff, somebody will have a phone there, and when somebody else expresses interest in joining us, we'll bring up the join form right on the phone and say, if you fill this out, you'll get all of the email notifications and everything you need. One thing I should also mention, so this workshop and a lot of these tools, like there's a learning curve to it, right? And Indivisible Somerville, we have a program that we will also promote called Red State. And so the purpose of Red State is really for cross-training other organizations on tools like this. So if you email...
It started with Red States, but we did not do
Red State at... that's so long to write on a whiteboard. If you email redstate@indivisiblesomerville.org, you'll be able to connect with somebody who can, we'll sit on a video conference and we'll, kind of walk through the tools. We have Indivisible Somerville in particular, for some reason, has, kind of a wealth of like tech and creative people. And so we want to put that to good use. So if things like how does Typeform go into Google Sheets and send out an automatic Slack notification and that kind of automation, we have the resources to help with some of that. Yeah.
Can I see some of your channels on Slack? What you name?
Yeah. Sure. So the first channel that everybody joins is general. And that's, when you open up your new Slack account with IS, you'll be in the general channel. The description says, welcome to IS, introduce yourself. If you're new, casual banter, welcome. It's just sort of whatever you feel like posting. And then down the side here, sorry that's a little bit cut off. Maybe I can do something like that. Yeah. So, yeah. There we go. Okay. So if you look down the side here, this is kind of all of our channels, and they're mostly oriented around specific projects and working groups that we have. So Drink Up is one example.
Project that we have?
Yeah, so we like drinking. So Drink Up is a type of event that we host where we get together and drink and talk about politics, basically, and socialize and hang out. We actually like each other's company, and so
White supremacy is like an event-based one, and creative is a lab-based one.
Yeah, so the Fight Supremacy channel, that's another good example. When the Boston counter protest was happening, we kind of had to scramble and organize a bunch of people real quick. So we set up a Slack channel to say all right, all of the coordination about this event is going to happen in this location, in this Slack channel. If you're interested in coming with us, join the channel, and we'll talk about it there. Yeah.
I'm sorry I was late to class, but should we be able to get onto a network here?
So it sounds like the Wi-Fi is not working in this room.
Okay.
So I know maybe the workshop said bring your laptops,
no worries.
but sorry about that. So
How do you notify your membership about something like that in your channel? Is it in general?
So this is super cool, but,
go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah.
So if you are in any of the other rooms, like for example, #action, which is where we do all of our general action planning and initiatives, and you wanted to say guys, we're doing Fight Supremacy Round 2 Rally on the 8th, they put the Facebook event there, but what we actually have to do today is go back in and if you Sean, just type hashtag right now and people will be, no, in the messages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
right,
if you're
right.
hey guys, everyone jump into the Fight Supremacy.
So right down here, I'm typing a message that's just
Okay, so we're in
#Fight
action.
Supremacy.
Yeah.
It's the name of the channel. When I post that, it actually turns into a link that I can click on, and that will bring me right to the Fight Supremacy channel.
And that basically
And it will
tells
attach you.
people, here's
Yeah.
where you want to go down.
Yeah.
But you are pretty much saying, if you're going to be an active member of Indivisible Somerville, you better be on Slack.
It really is, especially in our group. 99% of our organizing is in this Slack board.
You'll notice that there's a unique URL at the top here. This will take you, if you opened up a separate window, that should take you again to the Fight Supremacy channel.
Yeah. So
So an
Right.
email, reach out when
So let's
around
say-
events like this that we know are gonna have a lot of traction from people who haven't maybe been on Slack. We can link to this. It will obviously redirect them to the Slack sign-up page if they aren't a member of Slack, but it's a great way to foster that sort of thing.
So you will blast that and all.
We will, yeah, and we also make Slack onboarding a part of our monthly new member orientation. So the last 10 minutes of the
Yeah.
new member orientation, we bring out phones and laptops and set it up for everyone.
So
Can I just ask a basic question?
Yes.
So within a particular channel, it's just a chronologically organized set of communications, that's all it is, right? And can you organize within that if you want to? Like if you want to get more granular, let's say you have a broad subject like #action,
Yeah.
but then you realize you have 6 different actions you're working on.
Yeah.
Can you-
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. So, let's say I want to make a new channel for organizing the Indivisible Conference Tech Workshop, right? This workshop. I'm working with Alex on it, and I want to create a channel that anybody can join and participate in and contribute to, but it's for me and Alex to work so that we're not. Because if Action, if Action's having a whole conversation about something, we want to be able to have a separate space to have our conversation. So I'm going to click this little plus button here by create a channel. Anybody can do this. You could just create a channel, and I'm going to call it Conference Workshop, and I'm going to send an invite to a Swift. Okay, and now when I hit create channel okay, I'm going to create a channel. Now we have our own channel. It's our own space where, you can see up at the top, remember that members list? There's only 2 people in it, me and Alex. But anybody can go into the channels list and see it and say, oh, that sounds interesting, and I want to be involved in
And how would
that.
they join it? If they
So-
said, see, I want to join this.
So you see, there's the create the channel button that I just clicked on.
Yeah.
If you click over here on channels, you can browse all channels, and this will show you a list of a whole bunch of.
And then you click on, if I want to join your channel, I
Just
click
click
on it.
on it, like
Yeah.
jump into Mystic Valley.
Yeah, I'll just click on Mystic Valley here. This is a channel I'm not actually part of, but there's some other people working on Mystic Valley Indivisible.
And then join channel.
Yeah, and I can click join
See
channel.
the button, see the button
Yeah.
at the bottom.
So I just joined channel.
Uh-huh.
So we could sign up and learn all about yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the join form is public. Anybody's welcome to hop
Do
in.
you screen anybody?
No, we don't really have an official process for screening people. We do have a code of conduct and, guiding principles for the organization, and so anybody,
So if you get a troll, for
Yeah.
example, if that happened, can you block someone
Yeah.
so that they don't mess everything up?
You could just
Yeah.
remove them. so
Well, you
it's
have to have a known troll, right? So something could be skulking.
right, yeah, I mean, they could be inactive, they could be reading,
I would have to assume that in all indivisible chapters, there's somebody reading. Like,
Everything.
yes, you don't want to be bashing away. It's not private.
yeah,
It's useful, but it's not private.
right. So, yeah, so it's not,
I just have a quick
Sure.
question, technical question. So could I take this new channel that you made and make it as a sub under action? There's no
yeah,
sub.
well,
Okay.
There's not really sub-channel.
You
Not-
can't just sub channels.
not really
So that you can
way.
take all your action items and have,
You can
a
thread
parent and then have all the
conversations.
children
Yeah.
underneath.
What I could do, if I wanted a system like that, if that kind of hierarchy made sense for me, I could say like action, white supremacy 2.0.
Okay.
Right,
And
or
I wanted to
something
see
like
how that lands in the.
Sure. Oh, it's a bit
Too
too
long.
long. Let's say, tech workshop, right?
Okay.
Action tech workshop. And if I create this channel, it's gonna be right underneath action, right?
Okay.
It's ordered alphabetically.
Yeah, okay,
That's
so-
really the best.
Okay.
And is it just as easy to kill a channel?
Yep, so if I go to channel settings, if I leave action tech workshop, there's nobody else in this channel. So it should, oh, it didn't ask me to archive
If
it.
you go to channels that you
Yeah, if I go, I'm sure there definitely is a way.
We're chatting on it.
Huh?
We're
oh, yeah,
chatting.
there you go.
We were chatting on it.
How do you
man.
just delete it?
Archive this channel.
So you can't
So-
just delete?
Okay,
No,
pretend you did
the-
that not on purpose. We cut
Yeah,
that out.
the channel continues to exist. If I go to channel settings up here,
Yeah.
and then additional options, because they hide it so that you don't accidentally click on it. And then archive this channel. It'll say, no one will be able to send messages to it, apps will be disabled, a message will be posted that you archived it, but you'll still be able to find it if you're really looking for it, and all the messages are still there.
So I had a question about that second bullet point. So apps are installed channel by channel, and not across the board. So if if you're integrating with something else, so say in Google Drive somewhere, where that has a direct, is that to a particular, so that document,
Yeah.
that folder, whatever you have, talks
Yeah.
directly to a channel.
Yeah, so the Slack, one of the advantages of Slack is that it has a lot of integrations with a lot of tools that you already use, like Google Docs or Typeform, or a whole bunch of other things. And so you can get notifications in your channels about things that are happening other places, like an event was posted on Facebook and I want to see it pop up in Slack. But those, you always have to specify which channel those are going to, right? So what this is basically saying is that those automated integrations will stop posting to the channel.
And another quick question, you have 10 apps on the free version, you can integrate 10 apps. Is that, so as many channels as you want for that app, or is it channel by channel?
I believe it's just many channels, but I know I use Polly on like every single one,
Awesome.
so we would run into a problem by now.
Okay.
How do you select like all the members to send something to, so you went through all their names?
So,
Can you
That's a
repeat
good
the question?
yeah.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So, yeah, so the question is, how do you select who to send a notification to? So I said, hi Julie, and that sent Julie a notification to, even to her phone, to her desktop, that I mentioned her specifically.
And I just got a little ding on the
Right.
phone.
Yeah. So that's really nice for sending a message to one person. That might even work for sending a message to 5 people. But if I want to send a message to 20 people, that's gonna get real old real quick, right? So there's two other ways. Like to send a message just to Julie, I would say @Julie W, right? Because that's her name in Slack. But if I said @here, this would notify everybody in the channel who's online right now. And that's really nice because if somebody is offline, maybe they're not at their computer, you don't want to blow up everybody's phone. @here is like, okay, who's actually online working right now? I can send them a message. But the other option is @channel, which will be everybody on the channel. And so actually right now, if I say, hello all, there's 3 people on the channel, and so 3 of us get a notification, right? If you do that in general, 413 people will receive the notification. So, like you can turn off your own notification preferences, but yeah, in general, a highly populated channel, yeah.
Is there a way to have the notification go into a general notification box and not just to the channel? You know, so you can just keep track of every single notification in one place versus it being specific to a channel.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like having all your emails go to one email address. You could have 10 emails and all responses come
Right.
to one. That's,
Right. So
and why would you do that? But
yeah.
it's
So
sort
so
of double-
these notifications that I'm talking about here are really. Oh yeah. Actually, shoot! I just clicked right through it.
Yeah,
I have
but
it. Can
you want me to do it
Can
again?
you send me another
Do
one?
it
Yeah.
again.
Okay, so I'm looking at this conference workshop, and I'm about to get a notification there. So the notifications that I'm talking about here are really for an individual. Like what have, as a user of Slack, me individually, what have I not seen yet that somebody else wants me to know about? So I can see right here that I have one new notification. I don't know what it is or who sent it, but I see like somebody is trying to get my attention in this channel. So I'm gonna go click into that, and I see that Alex is saying, it's so nice to meet everybody. It sounds like what you're asking about maybe is.
It's also more for an administrator. so-
Yeah, for an administrator to maybe know what's happening in the org more broadly, right? I empathize with that.
And I do understand some people have some private stuff where they're not necessarily
Yeah.
ready to share until they have all their data points and what have you, so
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a reason why they didn't build that in.
And also, just one thing I want to note, because I'm seeing this up here, that notification, how it clicked away, I personally run into trouble with this a lot, where I'll like go through and I'll clean out all my notifications, and then I forget what the first notification was when I'm on 8. So if you click on the 3 little dots, you can, whoa.
These guys?
Yeah, there. You can go with mark on red, and so then it will just pop right back. So you can also, if you're just from that
Okay.
kind of level, I don't know if that helps, but.
So I was trying to say Alex.
Yeah.
You said like when you say add the person's name,
Yeah.
that they'll get pinged on their phone and stuff like that. How does that get set up? Is that through Slack or is that through your type form?
So that is through Slack.
So when you first sign up,
When
you give your email
Yep.
or your text
Yeah, should
information.
put the app right in front of you.
Right, so the first step to signing up to Slack, like let's say that you're joining Indivisible Somerville, you fill out the type form. The first thing you're going to get when you're interacting with Slack is an email invite that says welcome to Slack. And so you click on it, you fill out some information like what's your username, your email address, your name, and so on. And then you're just dropped into Slack. You can also go download a mobile app and log into the same account. And then through that, you'll be able to set up your push notifications so that this little one isn't just like somewhere on a website that you have to check all the time. It actually push notifies you to your phone. So, yeah.
I sort of have a backup big picture question. Is when I was involved, I was on the planning group Slack channel for this conference, and I never used Slack before, and I was completely confused and overwhelmed by it. But, you know, slowly making inroads, and I kept on thinking, so I would email the person, they'd say, put it on Slack. I'm like, why? I want to email you. I mean, and I always felt like there was this there was that feeling of non-acknowledgement in Slack that, you know, with email you have more of the back, you really have to trust that everyone's working the same system. And I guess I have the big picture question of why is this better? And apologies, I was 5 minutes late, so I might have missed the initial pitch. Why is this better than email? Why?
That's a really good question.
Why? I want to be persuaded.
The reason that this is better than email, I mean, the response that I have to it is a little bit subjective, right? For the group as a whole, Slack lets you organize the communication channels in ways that email doesn't. So I assume maybe a lot of people in this room have tried to manage an email list, right?
Sure.
You know, there's the opt-in, opt-out process. There's keeping track of maybe there's updating the list. You know, if you're not using like a listserv kind of platform, then there's like making sure that everybody who signs up is included on everybody's copy of the email list, or is there Slack manages the membership for you. It lets everybody in the organization voluntarily opt in and out of certain channels of communication, and it gives a lot more flexibility as to how they want to receive notifications about those updates, right? The downside of it is that it's another tool to learn, and you know we have a lot of tools to learn in 2017, right?
So along those lines, what are you finding is the adoption rate of this tool among your membership?
I think the adoption rate among our membership is fairly high because people get a lot of value out of it once they start using it. And so that kind of goes back to that sort of first hump of getting enough people using it that the newcomers are actually seeing the value. So, you know, to your point, you know, why post on Slack? What I hear in that is maybe I don't see the value in Slack, and that's perfectly valid. And with four people out of a 20-person organization actually using it, there probably isn't a lot of value there. With 19 people out of a 20-person organization using it, it's
Oh yeah,
really
there's
valuable.
definitely value, and I mean,
Yeah.
there's not. I mean, by definition, it's like I was forced to get with the program, even though I did it very awkwardly and poorly, but because everyone had bought in. So in other words, but then it was an interesting thing with all these channels and all that great organization. There were moments along the way there was like, stop posting on the web channel, only use November conference planning channel. Stop, I mean, there was like the confusion about where you were gonna find the various chains of communication. So anyway,
Yeah, and,
I'm working it out.
Yeah, I think, so like learning any tool, I think, you know, a lot of it comes down to practice. And there are tools that maybe even like the organizers of that Slack group might not know about, like archiving channels. Like, you know, how I would approach that particular scenario is I would post a message in the channel saying all conversations about this subject are moved to this other channel and then archive it. And so then anybody who goes back to that channel sees like, oh, okay, we're all moving to this channel. They can't post anymore in this one. So
Isn't part of it too, you talked about it because it's live, right? So you see it back and forth. Emails don't do that. So you can have 5 people make the same response to one email out to a whole group again.
yeah,
Because that's why I try to carry together my email. And I was only a third of what I ever see anyway, because of that reason. So I think just organizing it and being able to have live response instead of the email lag.
Do you guys use email?
we use email primarily for broadcast to a larger audience. So not everybody is on Slack. The people who are on Slack are generally organizers or contributors or like people who are going back and forth a lot with each other.
They're really active.
Yeah, yeah. Our largest use of email is twofold. Communicating with other organizations
Right, sure.
and broadcasting to a larger public.
Because I was just having an evil thought, I'm so frustrated by not being able to get people on Slack. I was thinking maybe we should just drop email completely. But does that then cut out, you know, a large amount of...
You'll drop those people.
Yeah, I
too.
know, that's what I'm, that's why it's an evil thought.
So I get the Action Lab on email, it reminds me. So like, you know, I'm here because I'm on Indivisible Somerville and a non-slacker. So, I mean, a slacker, I'm
But I
I'm
think
sure
that,
that's the first time I ever said that. So, see, I just got my profile.
Nice.
So, the
Yeah.
majority of your
Yeah.
membership, sounds ageist, but are they, you know,
Yes.
under 50?
That is the problem.
Because so
Yeah.
many in my group, and I'm talking about the Democratic Committee in my town, are older and even using Google Docs at
Yeah.
times is an issue. I mean, this makes perfect sense
Right.
to me. I'm sure the setup might be late. And I would think that we should make it a prerequisite, but
Yeah. So,
I'm just, I know that,
group has
you know,
its own
because
communications culture though.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, everybody has a different culture.
so there's a couple tools that I think could help with the adoption question, because I keep hearing that come up, and it's a really valid question. One thing that I think prevents, or is a roadblock for people to logging into it and posting on it, and is the sort of the notion of the great unknown, right? Like Slack, I hear a lot about Slack, I hear that it does amazing things, but this is going to be confusing to learn, and and a lot of work, and I have too many other things to do right now, and so I'm just going to use email because I know it, right? So one tool that we've used in the past to get people on Slack is to literally sit down with them at a computer
I was just
and
thinking.
have like the more that they can do during that time, the better. You know, if they are literally the ones to click on the
Right.
button and sort of reinforce that idea that you can just click around on things and you're not going to break anything. You know, getting that first positive interaction with the platform
Right.
might help the second one be a little bit easier.
I was thinking the same thing, for everyone bring their
Yeah.
computers and we do all that.
Yeah.
And then,
Thanks.
yeah, we do that, and we, again, just to reinforce, like, we're really big on face-to-face when you first meet people. So the third way we use email is email outreach. Every person who fills out that type form and goes to our email database gets a match to an existing active member who, like, emails them, and then we have a like a mentor, and we have a 5-touch system. So we email them up to 5 times. If they don't respond to the 5th email, then we're like probably spamming them, so we stop. But it's personal to the information that they said they were interested in that form. And then that person is responsible with getting the individual that they're partnered with, to the best of their ability, up on Slack. and also to a member orientation where we meet them face to face. It can take months. Like there are lots of people who come in and it can take 3 months because of kids in school and dates not working, but the face to face, that's how we like organize it as part of the outreach committee. And then, yeah, which is helpful. And the other thing that I'll plug here, which is just personally what I do, is there's an application for Google Chrome. So you have to be a Google Chrome user, but it's called Loom, and it's 100% free, Loom. What it does is it just, you go and download it. You can just Google Loom, and it's the first link at the top. And what it does is it allows you to record what you're doing on your desktop, and it'll take a little picture of you and video your face too. So when which is kind of creepy, you can also opt out of that if you're like in sweatpants, which I am most of the time. But this, it sits up in the upper corner. It's so simple. You just see the little icon that you can kind of see right next to it. That little rose will end up being right next to the exit bar. And then if you click on that, you record. It goes up to 10 minutes. And I usually just record myself like logging into Slack and clicking through things. And I talk and I use the person's name while I'm doing it. So I'll be like, hi Karen, this is just a reminder on how you use Slack. Like, I've added you to these channels that I think you might care about, blah, 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 blah. It takes 3 minutes. I sound crazy, so like book a room at work because you look crazy, you're talking to your computer. But then it gives you a net new URL that's unique. And anyone who goes to that URL is going to get Karen's video, but no one's going to type it in, right? So you just email Karen that link and say like, just a reminder on what we did. Or if you're doing it one-on-one with them, you can even record the video while you're doing it with them, and then people can walk back and watch it.
How long does it stay up there?
For the free version, a week. So I do get people who email me back, but sometimes that can be enough to just kind of get people over the hump.
So it's got your face and the Slack?
Yeah, it has like a little circle in the bottom corner that has like me on video, being cheerful, and then mostly it's my screen, and they just see me clicking
And
around.
then you show how to use it that way?
Sometimes. Sometimes when I have people who are less technically proficient. A lot of people pick it up really quickly because we're using Facebook Messenger and we're used to texting. But if you aren't, it's over with
What
it.
about something like Screencast compared to that? Because the free version
This is
has
what
like
it looks like,
100 gigs available, so you can store it forever.
That works too. Screencast is the
You only get
same.
5 minutes, but
Yeah, I'm a big
that way you can do it once and have it so people can rewatch it.
Totally, yeah, and it depends on the person. I think Screencast is great for like the group as a whole and having that like as a constant access. I found that with people who are scared of technology, it's really helpful to be like, hello Ben, it's me again,
Yeah.
your friendly
So-
person.
Just in the time that we were talking, I took this video. Get out of here. Right, and I was just taking a video of me clicking around and doing whatever I need to do. So it's apparently pretty easy to set up and get started with. So that's a great tool. I didn't even know about that one. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
So my question is around, I got on Slack early and other groups were using it, so they asked me to and I went on it, but then like remembering to log onto it and check it, and it's more of a pull than a push system, is there any push out there that I'm missing, like that could tell me, or like when you go to your computer that you could have it logged in already? And
Yeah, so one of the things that I do, like I basically live on Slack all day. Slack has a desktop application, so whether you use Windows or Mac, you can log in with your desktop application and leave it running, so you don't have to worry about like accidentally closing it with the browser or something. It will send you notifications to your desktop. You can also get the mobile app on your phone, and it will be able to send push notifications there. So
only if it's open though, right? Like
no, even if it's
See,
closed.
I have it and I don't get notifications. So I must be missing something.
You have to go to the notifications that are on your phone and actually okay it to send you notifications. I can help you with that right after this. And then the nice thing about that, if anyone is like on the other end of it and hates getting notifications to their phone, which would be me, you can also pick the channels. So like I only get notifications from the 3 channels that I care about. I care about the other ones too, but, you know, if it's a big enough deal, I'll be online some point this week and then I'll check it. But if it's like, you know, an emergency, it might only be from the lab that I lead that I need to.
So if I'm on a leadership committee and I want to make sure that my whole group has checked Slack for messages, for their specific channels that, you know, we might have subdivided into certain actions, is there a way for me to send something out that will hit their email? You know what I mean?
That would be-
Like as a reminder
That would be something that they would
from
have to
Slack?
set up.
Oh, they'd have to
Yeah.
set it.
Yeah, and
To
and
do
so-
what Alex is talking about, to get
Right.
push notifications.
Right, so it would be, they would actually make the decision that I want to receive Slack notifications by email,
Got it.
right? So what you're doing is just say, Slack notification, however they want to receive that. And then they have the option of saying by email or by push notification to the phone or
Okay.
whatever else. If you do want to specifically hit their email, that gets into another tool that we use, MailChimp.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Do you have Slack for like your region, so all the groups in your region can connect on the Slack? Or is that- you guys-
So I know there is an Indivisible Massachusetts Slack. That I think is used to organize the conference. I think maybe that's the one you were
Yes, that's
referring
the
to.
one.
Yeah,
It's Indivisible and Northwest Boston,
yeah,
that one?
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just the conference.
Yeah, the one that I'm demoing here is just Indivisible Somerville. I mean, anybody's welcome to join and use it, and like if you want to demo on an active Slack group to see what it might look like for your group, anybody's welcome to fill out the join form, and they'll get a Slack invite, and you'll be able to come in, poke around. My name is Edwards on Slack, and so if you just send me a private message or actually join the outreach channel, that would be a good place to connect.
Good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that I feel like I happen to come up this living example of the learning curve and what it takes from the group's perspective to deal with a newcomer, because I thought I did press, I mean, as far as I knew, I pressed push notifications on my phone, and I would get some randomly, but then I wouldn't. I mean, randomly because I'd get some and then I wouldn't get some, and I would miss hours, and then I would get emailed by conference people saying, hey, you know, have you checked your Slack channel lately? We're doing X, we want that feedback. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Yeah, and it was, and so it did require, I mean, from the point of view of those trying to bring in, I feel like I'm a living example of the annoyance of the startup, where I was like, oh, I missed that. I don't even know how I missed that. And I watched myself towards the end, towards this last week, I started getting on Slack, you know, the way I got on email.
Yeah.
But it took that turnaround to just that conditioning, and I missed things, and I was dogged, and I was, what's that?
There was the notification that was
But
really.
all I want to say, and it's some one-on-one that I greatly look forward to. I'm going to discover why I'm got some notifications and not others. I don't even understand what that was about. But, so
you
because I
pushed
got
it
some
for those
notifications,
channels, right?
maybe, but because I got some notifications, I thought I was getting all of them, but I wasn't.
Right.
So there were just I had lots of personal glitches, and then I love, I mean, it's, and you know, but I am also here to say I'm watched the learning curve happen. Like I feel like I have encouragement as much as I have dauntedness, but then the plus, what is the plus on the bottom, that in that square where it says message? The little plus sign. at the
This,
very
oh,
bottom.
yeah.
What is it? I like live in fear of pushing buttons. I do.
Sure. So, yeah, this is a cool one. So this is attachments.
Oh my God,
It's fabulous.
I would
And-
love to have done that.
Add
It's on
something.
YouTube about this, right?
Yeah, there's tons of videos, yeah.
Yeah, right, and then,
But, I mean,
It takes-
who takes the time to?
exactly, it's that line of like, I don't have time for this problem,
So-
but.
Okay, let's try something real quick. I'm gonna take a screenshot, okay? I'm gonna take a screenshot randomly of this section of the screen. How am I doing this? Let's open in MS Paint. Okay, I'm gonna save it. Okay, I'm just setting something up here. Okay, so I'm saving a screenshot of this web page okay, is saved on the desktop. Now, I want to attach that screenshot into my Slack channel because I want to share that screenshot with my team. So I'm going to click this plus button. I'm going to say, you can see, add a file from my computer. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to click that screenshot. I'm going to say, here's that screenshot I was talking about. And I'm going to upload. And then that screenshot appears in the Slack channel where Julie can see it.
So real basic, how do you do a screenshot?
Yeah, so,
Command Shift 4.
yeah, so because computers were invented by space aliens from Mars with the mission to confuse all of us into oblivion, taking a screenshot is one of the most surprisingly difficult things to do on a computer. Like, if you're on a Mac, it's like Apple Shift 4.
But shift 3 is actually, then it's the whole screen without you having to
Yeah,
select.
it's
It's actually Command Control Shift 4.
Because then
Oh, is that
there's
it?
a
On a Mac?
video
Command Control Shift.
I love the
4.
annotating screen, guys.
on Windows.
Snipping, you literally, I do not know how to find it except to open up and search for snipping. There you go.
Okay,
Snipping
yes.
is awesome.
Okay, so on Windows, you can search for snipping tool.
On the Mac, it's Command Control Shift, 4 for the whole screen, 3 to pull part of the screen.
Of course, right, yeah.
I mean, very intuitive, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Which has torn down some congressmen who had porn.
Bummer, so there's a rule in that, isn't there? A little lesson to be learned there. Don't be an
It's
idiot.
always a little nerve-wracking, like sharing your screen with, like, I'm up here with like my Slack organization, like what am I gonna display by accident?
Private channels.
Private channels, yeah, okay, that's a good one. Somebody asked a question earlier about privacy on Slack, and how do you have private communications and so on. So there's a couple different ways to do that. But I think the best way, I think, and the way that I would recommend is through private channels. So just saying create a channel button that we clicked earlier to create the conference workshop channel, right? We're going to click that. And there's this little toggle thing up here called public. So if I make that private, it says this channel can only be joined or viewed by invite.
One thing I point out is you have to be an admin to have this sort of private public access. Anyone can create a channel, but to create a private one, you have to be an admin.
Oh,
It's just that
interesting.
we're all
And
admin.
how do you get to?
Well, there's always,
How
that
do you
way people
get to
are
be an
creating, your trolls are creating channels on your Slack and talk about it.
Yeah, I know, but
Whoever sets up the Slack whoever
Right.
sets up the Slack page to begin with can then
Is the
specify
admin.
certain users to be admins.
I see.
And admins can.
Right.
And we paint with a wide brush with it. Most of the people in our leadership are admins. The only people who, and anyone is free to reach out to any of us and like ask for their own private channel. I do this at work all the time. I ask for a private channel for something I'm working on with our IT department, and they just leave the channel and never come back to it.
So let's make a new private channel. I'll call it Secret Workshop Gossip. No. Secret for her work. Okay, Secret Gossip. That's good. And I'm gonna invite Jess, Alex, and Julie. And we're gonna gossip about.
And you'll already be in it because you're creating it.
And I'm gonna be in it because I'm creating it. That's right. No, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna leave Julie out.
I'm gonna make my own secret.
Okay, so I'm gonna create a secret gossip channel where we're talking about how great Julie is.
I'm leaving the
Now we're gonna workshop.
Right. So there's my secret channel, right? And the reason now I could have just sent a direct message to Alex to just say this, but the reason I created a private channel is like at some point I might want to include somebody else in that conversation, and so now I can go /invite. I actually want to tell Julie about how great she is, so I'm going to invite Julie to the channel.
but I'm so mad I left.
So, so what this is telling me is, it's kind of disclosing to you that new members will actually be able to see the whole channel's history. So, for including them in the conversation also includes them in the whole previous conversation. But I actually want to do that, so I'm going to say, yes, show channel history.
So I'm sure you address what's proper in the private channels in your guidelines, right? So that you're not having like gossipy.
Yeah.
We only have 4 of them, and so I think the best case scenario is to not
Well,
have.
we're only in 4 of them.
Okay, wow, you created jail.
So the, well, I mean, other admins might. So, like the thing about free Slack, like if you pay out the ears for Slack, they will give you access to auditing all of the private channels and all of the communications. And like, you know, if you're working for like a healthcare organization that needs like HIPAA compliance and stuff like that, you probably want all that stuff. For free Slack, even admins don't get to see private communications. So, you know, if you have a Slack organization and that's how you're doing business as your group, there is definitely private communication happening that you can't see. That's just a fact of it. That's going to happen anyway, and Slack makes it a little bit easier for those people to talk about you behind your back. But that's something.
But only if they're admins.
But only if they, yeah. So
And then, if you start this new group, will the old members automatically go into the new channel?
no.
No, then you have to re-invite them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
It looked like it included all the current members of the group. on
Right,
the
plus the
channel,
new.
Plus the new ones.
It
that
will
you
do
invite.
that.
Right.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
It
it
will.
does, great.
It will invite all of the old
Right.
people.
And then it archives.
Because really what you're just saying is we're archiving all the old stuff for this new person.
Right. So another privacy question or just security question. So do you or have you considered doing two-step authentication, or does that feel like a barrier to entry? Who's considered that with our?
Yeah, so for the group, two-factor authentication is, so like normally you log in with like an email and a password, right? Two-step authentication, it will actually prompt you for another, like usually a number that you can get from your phone. So it makes sure that it's something that you know and something that you have. So you know your username and password and you have your phone, right? And so for somebody to get into your account, they would need to know and have those things. Two-step authentication, I don't think we've enforced it for the org. I generally think it's a good thing to set up. I have it in most places, but I think that's more of a personal choice. I mean, it's not like we're protecting state secrets in our indivisible Somerville Slack channel. So,
Right.
yeah.
What's workspace?
Workspace?
Yeah, in Slack and some. Is this whole thing our workspace?
Yes, this one's.
And then these are channels within the workspace?
Oh, that could be, yeah.
Or can you create like another?
Oh, yeah, so like, if you look at my Slack here, I use Slack for work as well. Sorry, you guys can't see this, but if I hit the upper corner, there are multiple Slack channels you could join. So I have like one for Indivisible Somerville, we could join the Mass one as well. My professional one is on here for my team at work. And so you can have like 18. They are often called incorrectly Slack channels, like, oh, why don't you join my Slack channel? That's just colloquially, I didn't actually know that was called a workspace, thank you. They're called workspaces.
So the whole Indivisible Somerville thing is the workspace?
It's the workspace.
Yeah, and so there's an Indivisible Mass workspace. For my day job, I have a workspace with my company.
And you have to manually link them all together on your Slack.
Separate accounts.
Right, because you're one person, yeah, so
And
that's
each
like what it looks like.
time you might have it, depending on where your brain is, you might have a different one.
That's correct, yeah. Right, that's one of the things about Slack, that your username and login, even though it may be the same email address that you're linked to, the username and login is actually tied to the workspace, so you could actually have a different password and username. Yeah.
And you may want to do that.
You may want to do that.
I do that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the phone, as she was pointing out, the phone version of the app is nice because you can switch workspaces really easily, and the desktop stop first.
Can you talk a little bit about how you sort of, so you talked about how there are more people on Facebook than necessarily your Slack workspace. Do you still do Facebook events? Like how do you sort of integrate with those platforms when you primarily say that you use Slack?
Yeah, so we use Facebook a lot for anytime we want to communicate with the broader public. You know, we certainly use our mailing list for, you know, for anybody who's filled out the join form and has expressed kind of a higher level of interest in Indivisible Somerville. But Facebook is sort of our, like, hey, everybody in the world, like, please know about this. So we have a Facebook page. Actually, I don't think I could get to it without logging in. Oh, I can, actually. Yeah, so we have a Facebook page, and it shows, you know, we have, I think, an event coming up. What do we have for events right now? Oh, yeah, we're hosting Bob Massey, if anyone's interested in coming to that. Anyway, this will load eventually. So yeah, we use Facebook. We don't do a lot of Facebook chat. It doesn't really give us the controls and the tools that we like to use in Slack. But yeah, Facebook events are a really big tool that we use.
So I have to admit, I'm not a Facebook user. Might be a naive question, but to what extent could you use Facebook instead of Slack? You know, for even if it's a bit degraded, the benefit would be that, you know, most people are Facebook users and are familiar, you know, are part of Facebook groups, and you know, you've got this lower barrier to entry.
So I generally recommend that people don't organize over Facebook.
It's like a shotgun, but even broader.
Yeah, it's like the tools that they give you to, like, we were talking about Slack notifications earlier and how as a Slack user you can configure exactly what you want to be notified about and how you want to receive those notifications. Not only does Facebook not give you those controls, it makes its own decisions about what you think you want to see. And so, like if you're scrolling through your Facebook timeline, that is not what's actually happening in any kind of chronological order. That is actually ordered by Facebook's assumption about how likely you are to interact with it. So, the recency of the post matters, right? You're more likely to interact with more recent things, and so it generally tends to be in the moment. But it's really ordered by algorithms saying, like, what do you think you're likely to see? So if somebody, let's say you're a Facebook user and you generally post positive things and you're talking about positive things and like you just like to be a light in the world, right? And then somebody on your Facebook group that you're organizing with posts like something really scary that's happening. Facebook goes, well, I don't think he's going to want to see scary stuff. Like so it just won't show you the post. Like you can like click in and find it, but it's almost the same problem as remembering to go in and check Slack. You have to remember to go in and check your Facebook group.
So you couldn't do things like set up channels, set groups.
You can do groups, but you can't, there's no guarantee that people in the group, even in the groups, are going to see what you post. It's very, they keep it very, that you can't do direct communication, so they make it sticky and addictive.
I think that's even a little bit optimistic. I think what you're showing are what people are paying money to have you see. So it could be driven by, you know, for example, the Russian government, or by a corporation, or by somebody who's wanting to buy your eyeballs.
One of my favorite sayings in tech is that if you're not paying for it, you're not the user, you're the product.
Yes.
And Facebook, like, I don't pay for my Facebook account because I'm the product, right? And I'm not. Yeah, there's no customer support for me, right?
I have a question. So, you know, I use other project management software, free project management software
Yeah.
for various organizing tasks like Basecamp or FreeCamp. I've also used Salesforce, the
Yeah.
free version for contact management. And it seems to me like that it has more power than what Slack does in terms of creating to-do lists, deadlines, timelines, being able to store some files.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why you landed on Slack.
So we use Slack specifically for communication in the moment. We actually use a bunch of other tools for like shared to-do lists or for I think our outreach team uses the HubSpot CRM
We use a
for,
combination of HubSpot free CRM and an Airtable database.
Right.
We like to have backups basically, so we sync to both of them.
so that kind of fills the role of Salesforce. So Slack really is about the sort of like free-form logistics conversation type of communication.
So then, if you want to get down into brass tacks with a group to get something done, do you move over to somewhere where you create a to-do list and you have deadlines associated with it? And if so, how does that happen? What does that look like?
So there's a couple ways that you can go back and forth on this. Deadlines can be dangerous. I think that we have everyone in our org is volunteers, so we want to make sure that we're respectful of the fact that things come up in life. So each lead of a lab is kind of in charge of a project is in charge of keeping their own lists and deadlines. And we have not yet mandated like kind of specific issue tracker across the org that everyone has to use like that. If things have worked for you before, that's great. Some members like to use this one called DunDun. So Sean will show you what that looks like for him. There's additional ones along the lines of you can actually create things called notes in Slack. So using that same big green button that like everyone saw before with the attachments, you can put notes in there. So I personally know I just don't do things unless I have like a to-do list. So I'll create Alex's to-do list and put it in my Slack channels every week, and I just do that on Monday, and then I feel like that's my transparency. Or you can post, using the note, you can also post like minutes from a meeting, right, with to-do lists and stuff like that, and people can just scroll back up and check on them. We haven't had an issue with that. I think that makes people nervous when you talk about like, oh, but you're gonna run out of space to keep like a long historical record, and that's kind of we tend up moving final products or minutes for more important meetings into those Google folders at the top of the thing, so that they're always there. But in general, for like working back and forth and just saying like, oh, I'll do this today, I tend to just make a post in Slack with a bunch of bullets, and then the person is pretty easily can swing up.
Yeah.
But talk about DunDun. This is cool.
Yeah, so this is a tool that we just started exploring, and it's called My DunDun, and it's kind of a neat tool. Basically, it's a shared to-do list. Oh yeah, that's a good point. So it's called DunDun.
What's the address, Get Done Done?
It's, I think,
DunDun.
My DunDun. I didn't name it, I just used it.
New place?
Say Google Keep is a similar shared.
Google Keep, I don't know how they have for sharing tools.
You can do shared to-do list.
Okay.
But this looks cool.
Yeah, so My DunDun, I don't know.
It seems like there's more detail here in the description.
Yeah, there's, okay, so for a small team, it's a little bit expensive. Yeah, we're actually paying for this one. But there's some other shared to-do list tools, like I think maybe Wunderlist.
You can use Wunderlist and share that with anybody. It has a sort of less professional UI, but if you're just doing a to-do list for a project, I use it. I also, my best friend uses it with her significant other to like track who's doing chores. So it syncs with all of your Google calendars. And the other thing that I think helps is that actually Google Calendars can be shared with individuals, even your personal ones too. So I've created sub-personal calendars that I can post to different things. So if I have an invisible to-do list, I'll give myself like blocks of time during the week to do it and label it something fairly transparent, like Alex is going to send emails to X, Y, and Z person. And then I will sometimes share people on that calendar. So if they're curious about what I'm planning on doing that week, they can also open that up. That's a lot of transparency because like I, again, do not have accountability unless everyone knows, and I feel the shame wrong with that. But if you're more of an adult, you might not want to do that. I don't know, it helps, it works for me. And that's on a free Google account, so.
Do you link this to Slack?
You can. I'm sure there is an integration for it. I think we probably haven't because, like I said earlier, those kinds of integrations are one of the limits to free Slack. So we have, you get like 5 for free or something, like 5?
10, yeah.
10,000
10.
archive messages, 10 apps you can.
Okay, so it's 10 integrations that you can have on a free Slack. I don't know if we've integrated this or not. This is a fairly recent tool.
So if you had like an action channel on Slack,
Yeah.
and then you wanted to give someone instructions of what to do, like there's a phone bank or there's a letter to write or something like that,
Yeah.
would you put that on this or would you? That's a lot for Slack,
So-
to have it on Slack, right? So-
Yeah, that really depends on the. So I think for the teams that I work with, we would. The way that Indivisible Somerville is structured, like most of the working groups kind of have their own autonomy as to how they organize themselves in that respect. So I think Action
Sends out an email follow-up and then posts the same thing as a Google document in their channel. So they like take minutes of their meetings, they finish it with a bolded to-do list, and then they email everyone on their list that, right? And they also put it in Slack generally. So it goes to both places. But I think what Slack is more for is the communication around how to do something. So if the conversation is like, Alex and Sean are going to write this op-ed, then me and Sean talk about that in Slack, and we go back and forth and we post our drafts there, we workshop with each other in Slack. Without
You're doing it, or you're posting a link to the Google document form that you're editing with. No.
Yeah, and we post it in Slack, and we talk to each other there,
Right.
you know.
Instead of
and-
comments in the document, you're talking here, linking to the document there.
Right, and
Where you're
working out
editing.
of Google Documents
Got it.
usually. And for calendars and long-term planning, I like to use, if not like a done tool, then just a Google Sheet that I like turn into a calendar, right? Like a Google spreadsheet that's free, and then you can link it in here, and people go through and check it off. Everyone can go in and see if you have or haven't done your work. And like also, I don't know, it's how much of a people person you are. I tend to be passive aggressive side, that sounds bad. So I can just repost things like every couple days, you know, just, hey guys, a reminder, still here, a reminder. Follow it up with a puppy the 3rd time, it's great.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that question, Kate, around whether you advertise or not, I mean, I do think the verbiage that Slack chooses around workspace is very relevant. I mean, that it really, it sounds, and certainly in my limited experience just leading up to this conference is that it's all about the planning, just what you were saying, and that then it is where you use the email and Facebook and everything else to say, and come to this phone bank or come to this rally, but because otherwise you're just organizing the people who are already in your Slack channel, which is fine. There's not to give them short shrift, but if they're in a Slack channel, then you've already, you got your critical mass. But it seems like the workspace.
Do you, I don't know if you talked about this early on, but do you keep your database, your contact database in MailChimp?
So our sort of primary member database is in a tool called Airtable, which is sort of like Google Sheets with a couple more tools for searching.
CRM, Google Sheets,
Yeah.
all of these are like the same.
Yeah, we have another document. It's actually it's a spreadsheet of progressive organizations in Massachusetts with like different fields for email, phone number, stuff like that. You know, so I guess my answer to the question depends on like what type of contact information we're storing.
I was in a workshop from Emily's List, and they were saying, whatever you do, just keep one database.
Yeah.
So you keep it on Airtable, and then you just sweep everything periodically into MailChimp when you send emails?
Yeah, so MailChimp, Yeah, so when you fill out the join form,
Uh-huh.
that contact information actually goes into two places. So we have sort of two different membership databases. Airtable is our system of record for who has ever filled out the join form. It also goes into MailChimp, which is not really a historical record. It is the present state of who is currently signed up for the mailing list. So if somebody unsubscribes from our mailing list, they get removed from MailChimp, but they're still in our Airtable.
Sure.
So Airtable is really the Rolodex.
Airtable is free, and HubSpot CRM, which is a competitor, and is also free, and they're both like unlimited free.
What's the other one besides Airtable?
And Spot CRM, I believe, as well, yeah.
Uh,
HubSpot,
HubSpot.
HUBSPOT.
These are all virtual Rolodexes?
I think they're both great. They're virtual, yeah, exactly, essentially virtual Rolodex, CRMs, contact management databases.
But I know the Airtable, again, my limited exposure was the Airtable, my first exposure to the words Airtable were in the form of the draft planning of the workshop, of this conference's workshops, the 24 were, and they were like, go to Airtable. I'm like, going, what the heck is Airtable? But they used it for organizing like the spreadsheet, as it were, of this workshop setup, the jigsaw puzzle. And I was again wondering in my ignorance, why this and not Google Docs? Like why? Like so.
It's really easily searchable. I think that is, yes, it's definitely the question. I think in Google Docs, if you wanted to create like a sub-list of people who all had one type of characteristic. So for example, I recently helped someone kick off a weekend action lab that only does actions on weekends. So what we did when we were like thinking about who might be interested in that is we went and we said, who's previously said they're interested in actions, but isn't currently in Action Lab and is in Massachusetts, because we also have a bunch of like lovely people's mothers who live in California and might want to do something but can't with us. And so we were able to filter all those people out, and then using Airtable or HubSpot CRM, either one of those, we can create like a separate view that just automatically pulls out. As opposed to in Google Sheets, you might have to kind of filter and do some things to like sort them into a list and then take a bunch and copy them and create a new sheet with it, which people with great Excel skills can do. But Airtable or a CRM, an online CRM that's free, even a Salesforce CRM that's free, allows you to create a separate view that you can, and then it's cached for all time. And the other nice thing is as people automatically flow into the database and fit those criteria, they go to both places. So if you come back in 6 months and you still want that list of people who, you know, appear to only have weekend availability and live in Massachusetts, it's only continued to build automatically on its own, as opposed to in a Google Sheet, you might have to like double click on your VLOOKUP forms to make sure they go down, and you need more skill.
Yeah. So I guess maybe one note about tech tools kind of in general across the board is a lot of them it's difficult to say like one is better than the other. You know, Airtable certainly has some advantages for what we use it for, which is, you know, sort of filtering and searching members. You know, that's a really common workflow for that particular kind of data. I would not recommend that you keep track of your books in Airtable. You know, I think spreadsheets and Excel or Google Sheets is a much better place for like spreadsheet type of data. You know, Airtable is more kind of almost subtly more suited toward like database records or like
It's organizational versus like
for
formulation.
computation. Yeah, right. I would say like if you're keeping contact information in Google Sheets, you're not doing anything wrong. Like it's what's working for you, and I think a lot of the challenge in deploying these kinds of tech tools, in addition to the adoption question, is just how do you actually apply the tool to the job, and that's a lot of times creative work and fraught with horrors and fighting with computers, and you know it's kind of the nature of a lot of it. Yeah.
I just want to put in a plug, particularly for those in the 50 and over set, to keep it simple and go with the more ubiquitous tools.
Yes.
So if you're looking to do to-do lists in Slack, I went to the help button and asked about to-do lists, and it gave 3 ideas, and the first 2 of them were built into Slack, just ways to create checklists within Slack, for example. If you're thinking about keeping a spreadsheet and you don't want to go with Excel, go to Google Docs because it's more ubiquitous. If you are people, if you live in Somerville or Brooklyn and 70% of your users are, 32 or younger and were born with a chip in their head or a phone in their hand, it's a different thing. So the best, my own experience with applications in the past is the best application is the one that's going to be used, and where when that human being who's bright and out in the lead and does the most with it moves on because something happens or they get sick or something's busy, someone else actually can pick it up and run with it. And if you're not peopled by a lot of young people in your groups, I think you're safer with the more pedestrian.
So I think I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We have 2 minutes left.
Actually,
so-
we are going, the workshops technically can go to 2:30.
Oh, really?
The start was technically pushed to 1, but the communication channel on that, there wasn't Slack. In the walls of this university, we did not have Slack.
Got it.
So we do
All right,
have
so we have 17 minutes. Perfect.
But I mean, yeah, whatever, I mean, there's leeway there, that's all.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So can you talk a little bit about your workflow? So if someone goes onto your site to join, fills out the form, which is type form,
Yeah.
and is the automation going, so it adds them, sends them an advice from Slack, puts them up on MailChimp, those things? Can you talk a little bit about how you have the automation set up?
Yeah, so we use a tool, this is gonna get a little bit into the weeds, I think, of power users, I guess. If it's really interesting to you and it sounds like the kinds of thing that you could get a lot of value out of, I would follow up at redstate@invisiblesomerville.org later, and we can certainly, if you have specific questions, those are easiest, but if you want to say generally, like, how do you automate this kind of thing, we have a team that's working on building a process for training in that way. So we use a tool called Zapier. So you've probably had the experience of you have information that updates in one place, and every once in a while you have to kind of go and copy it into another place because you have to keep these 2 records in sync, and sometimes it's out of date. So we have the same problem. When you fill out the join form in Typeform, at some point we need to take all of the records of Typeform and put them into our MailChimp database so that you get the emails, and put them into Airtable because that's our system of record, and put them into, send them a Slack invite. So there's this checklist of things that we have to actually do before somebody's fully on board. So we use Zapier to basically do all of that for us. And the sort of mental model that you can think of for Zapier is, when something happens, I want to do these things in other systems, right? So when somebody fills out the type form, I want to do these things in MailChimp, Airtable, and Slack. Unfortunately, I don't have the Indivisible Somerville login at the moment. But that's what we use. Is we actually use Zapier pretty extensively
So Zapier is talking to Typeform, so Typeform doesn't integrate directly into any of those?
Yeah, Typeform,
And you can actually search in the app directory what, you'll pull up one type of app. So if you pulled up Slack, then it'll show you all the different things that you can use Zapier to talk to Slack with. So it kind of works like that, and it lists it.
Is there a subscription fee to this, or is this a free app?
You can, so I can't type and talk at the same time.
Oh, sorry.
So there is a free tier where you get, I think, 5 jobs. Yeah, 5 zaps. And so one zap is like, you know, when somebody fills out the type form, you know, how many triggers do you actually have configured? Let me log in real quick and I'll show you.
So if type form goes to MailChimp, Airtable, and Slack, is that one zap or three zaps?
3 zaps.
4 zaps,
Yeah,
right? Is
each
it 4?
one.
That's one.
Oh, I'm sorry, open
It's-
type form.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because it's one workflow.
So-
That's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Okay, so let's look at outreach. So in the outreach folder in Zapier, we have this new member ad, right? So the first step is the trigger. When a new member fills out the join form, right, you're going to see a new entry. There's a bunch of stuff that you kind of walk through, and then you can test the step to see, you know, to see that new member. I'm going to just kind of go through this broadly. I don't want to get into the weeds of every single job, but whenever this happens, there's a list of actions that I want to take after that. So one of them is we just make the email lowercase because we want to have all of our emails lowercase. The next couple are for updating Airtable, so we find or create their record in Airtable, and then we set it to be the contents of the join form. Then we send them a confirmation email, and then this post thing is, that will result in them getting a Slack invite. And then, excuse me, we actually send a channel message in Slack. So that's 2 different actions, right? They get an invite to Slack, but then we also get a notification in Slack that somebody just joined. And then this is, you know, I don't know what Dasheroo is, but we do something with it.
So this is one
This
of
is
your
one zap.
one zap. And you can, so everything associated with new member,
Yeah.
no matter how many steps.
MailChimp integration's not happening.
Yeah.
Or is that maybe a link?
Yeah.
Or is there another zap that's
Or is
connecting
type
to
form
your
do it
Air?
directly, so you can get around it a lot.
Is there another zap that's connecting to Airtable that when
That might-
when a new record
yeah.
is created, then it adds that
that'll be a
record to
separate one.
MailChimp?
Yeah, that's,
We had an issue with one of them and turned it off recently. It might just be, it might be just that we're looking into it.
Can you look at fund? Like, do we?
yeah, we,
There you go.
yeah, create subscribers from, no, that's not it. Anyway, it's in here somewhere, we use this a lot. But yeah, this is a big important tool in our workflow, is,
What does the fund one look like? Does that just submit a reimbursement request?
No, it's like a
Yeah.
donation, thank you.
right, so this is an example of something we might use it for. When you submit a donation, we actually add you to a donors list in MailChimp.
Are you doing separate lists, or are you doing segments in a single list? That will show.
We are, I think, using separate lists. So, yeah, MailChimp tools, you can have a list, and then you have segments within the list of, like, people who are on the general membership list but are also leaders. It would be a segment. So, yeah, I don't think we're using segments very much. Yeah.
Can you give us a 2-minute rundown of what MailChimp is good at?
Yeah. MailChimp is good at broadcast emails. It is not good at two-way emails. It's not good at sending an email to one specific person right away. But it is good at having an enormous list of lots of email addresses that you want to deliver the same message to.
In a nicely formatted.
And really nicely formatted.
And it also will tell you who has read that. So if you have a list of 500 people, it'll say 300 people opened it, 250 actually clicked on a link in it. These are the ones who opened it.
More than
These
once.
got more than
If you
once.
actually they can comment
Here's
on
your super
our
app
individual
list.
emails, so they can comment back.
And it's
which is
free up
but
to
they
2,000
can.
contacts, I believe.
That's really, Pretty brilliant.
So you can use
It's
it. for-
also really good at deduping, so if you've got like 6 different lists you want to mail to and don't want to deal with them, just throw them all in and it'll dedupe by email address.
Yeah.
It also is very trusted and good at getting past spam filters.
Yeah.
So
Basically, it sends
you have to
out
behave
the
yourself,
same
and if you
emails.
behave yourself, it'll probably
So
deliver
it's
your
not-
message.
MailChimp is not super expensive. It's kind of a heavy tool to learn, but it's worth it kind of for that reason. Like, because MailChimp is the one delivering your email, if your email gets filtered as spam, it's actually MailChimp who gets spam blocked. So MailChimp being a big company, they have the sort of fortitude to work with Google and say like, hang on guys, we have a lot of paying customers who really need their emails delivered, let's work something out. And that kind of returns downstream so that you'll be working on MailChimp. If the emails that you're sending are triggering spam filters, MailChimp will actually say like, hey, slow down a second, like we gotta work on some of this. That's a lot nicer than just, everybody spam filtering you and you have no idea. So it's a kind of a heavyweight tool. It's a little bit clunky to learn. There are others like it. So what is it good for? It's mailing lists.
I also like it because it integrates with databases, it integrates with Eventbrite.
Right, you can
So-
upload your stuff.
So I was like a shoestring nonprofit, and we pulled it together with we used Eventbrite to ticket things, and then we would be able to send things out, Eventbrite would shoot it over to MailChimp, and it would give a basic formatting, almost done, they fiddle with a little bit. So it does a nice job with integrating with things, and then we could automatically have those, whatever we got on Eventbrite, then move into our MailChimp database. So I guess it depends on what bothers you. I find Slack more complicated than MailChimp, so I think it's how your brain works.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally I felt like going in and configuring MailChimp was sort of, but it's a really good tool.
Templates.
They have templates, yeah.
I think once you set up a decent template,
That's probably
then,
it, yeah.
that is pretty straightforward.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Questions about when I email from MailChimp and then somebody replies to MailChimp, where's that email go?
Drop it in the comment.
Like when you set it up, you set it up with a return mail address, and it goes to a specific person.
But it sounds like you might be able to configure it so that it shows up.
As a comment,
like
yeah,
as
so
a
your
comment on
email that
email.
you send out will actually show with the group a number of comments. So then you can actually go through and read them if you don't want to get an email box bombed.
But I actually think you rarely get the bomb, so it depends on how.
But so for a lot of people we work with who are MailChimp or anything like that, it's like they're getting such a volume of emails anyway. The reason they're taking it out of their inbox is so MailChimp automates it.
Yep,
Okay.
so it depends on your personal preference, yeah.
Yeah,
So for me,
end
I don't
user.
go back into MailChimp to look at my comments for a while, so I could also get them to my
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Either way,
There's options.
And then, if you can also set MailChimp up to automatically post on a Facebook page
Yeah.
and/or Twitter, so if you do that, just if you want to integrate it that way.
And you can schedule it for a year ahead of time.
And you can make different kinds of sign-up forms that you can place on your website or on your Facebook
Yeah.
page and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, those are nice. Yeah.
I'd say the one thing that also I just want to highlight is Google Groups and creating aliases that email other people. So like this is great for blasting out an event, but if you're not using Slack, or if you have a group where, it might be a 50-person group, but only 15 of those people are really active organizers, and you can just sort of count on the other 35 to show up at a given event and sit in the State House or what have you, then you can create a Google group, which would just be like, if you email redstate at, what's really gonna happen when you email this redstate at Indivisible is that we have a text from about 4 people who are gonna whoever's quickest is gonna get to your email.
Right, yeah, so, and the nice thing about Google Groups here is like we have, you know, tech@indivisiblesomerville.org is our tech team. And when somebody emails that email alias, it appears as though the email is coming from them, but it actually gets delivered to everybody who's part of that group. And then if anybody on that group hits reply all and types another message, it goes out to the same people. And so nobody in this group actually has to manage the list of who's in the tech group. They can just email this list and it goes to everybody who's in the tech group right now. So that's another really nice tool that we use a lot. And the specific way that this is different from MailChimp, this is actually a group of people who want to share an email address. As opposed to like an email being broadcast to a lot of people, this is usually a team, that's communicating with each other.
I think the difference, so MailChimp you would never use for a casual email.
Yeah.
Really, it's when you need like, you want to send out an invitation to something that's nicely formatted. But if it's an internal email, you would never need MailChimp. It's really to look nice, like Constant Contact is similar, it's just not quite as easy to use.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you've ever emailed like HR at whatever company you're at .com, it's the same thing. It goes to HR and then they deal with it however.
Are you using G Suite, or is it, so you have, you count how many addresses do you have set up there? Because these are aliasing to where? If you have Red State set up and it's a paying account, right?
Well,
it's just an alias to.
So G Suite is sort of Google's paid Google Docs and email thing. It's like $10 per account per month.
The small one's $5 per user per month.
Yeah, and so we have, I think, 5 users or something like that. So we pay for it, but it's not everybody gets it. But indivisiblesomerville.org, that's what handles that email address. This is actually Gmail under the hood. All of these aliases, these groups, those are all free. You don't actually pay for a user unless they get their own like personal email box. Like if you emailed Sean at indivisiblesomerville.org, you would get my personal Gmail box. If you email this, you'll get a mailing list, but you don't have to know the difference between those things.
So that means that for $5, if you have one shared email account, for $5 you can set up an unlimited number of lists for all of your subgroups.
Yeah. And that's how we started. We had is@indivisiblesomerville.org. It was the only account. We paid $5 a month, and that was our email for the whole organization. And then as we started to grow, we started to realize, there's some people who actually need to be able to present as the organization, and so they get user accounts with the domain name. But we all increased our monthly donation to cover it, so.
We all started paying $5.
Democracy.
Buy your email.
How do you guys do fundraising?
Yeah, so in our MailChimp template, at the bottom, we actually have a donate link. So every email that goes out has like a donate link. We really like recurring monthly donations. Like we would prefer a recurring monthly donation of $5 over a one-time $50 donation, because we can actually build a budget to pay for some of these tools off of that.
So I'm actually part of the fundraising group. And the thing that I find totally charming about Somerville is they call everything labs, like we're trying stuff out. So we're the fund lab. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get away from a whole bunch of events, which take a ton of time to do, and asking everybody to donate an hour of salary per month. You know, because that's 1/67th of your income, and it's automatically sliding scale.
Yeah.
And if some fraction of our members did that, would be easily funded. So it's much more of a market, an effort to get out to people.
What's the mechanics behind it, and how are you?
Donate box. So this is the tool we happen to use right now. I think we Act Blue is another one that I think some groups use. There's a handful of them. We happen to use DonorBox right now.
Square, how does Square work?
Network for Good is also.
Yeah, so we're actually, we're a little over time, so I think I want to leave with one last point, which is, was made a little bit ago. Don't let any of this stuff overwhelm you. We're certainly happy to help, but I think that the best thing that you can do whenever you're implementing or deploying tech tools is like do what you think is going to work for your group. You know, don't do something just because some software engineer from Indivisible somebody will tell you that it works better for us. Like it works better for us, but maybe not for everybody. So, but we're happy to help.
Yeah, thank you. And the only other thing I would push back on that, even though I really appreciate the counsel about that, I would also suggest that in the face of the overwhelm, use that email address you gave us. Take an hour, like the investment, the return on an investment for maybe an hour of coaching could be quite high, because I know that, I suspect we don't really want to be in groups where we say, oh, we really want to stay with the older demographic. You know what I mean? So I do feel like, I think we want to push ourselves at a pace that we can push.